so bad in America that the landlords are so out of touch with reality and what's really going on in America that they're still asking you for 3 times the rent. If I made 3 times the rent, I would not be applying to rent a place. I would be applying for an actual house, right? Keep it up. The cost of living is so bad in America that your credit score trumps even your income. Even if you make good income, those who know, you know. Your credit score is bad, that's not going to get you nowhere. You got to have good credit and good income. The cost of living is so bad that some people have no choice but to live in a hotel or even live in a shelter because of credit, because they can't afford anything else, because everything is out of their price range. It's that bad. The cost of living is so bad that when we are applying to places to live, we're spending hundreds, almost $200 to $300 on application fees for places that we don't even know if we're gonna get, because there's obviously no guarantee, because they still gotta run your background. It's that bad. The cost of living is so bad in America that most of us don't even live where our jobs are at, because typically wherever your job is at is way too expensive for you to be able to afford to live in the same area of your job. Some of us, not all of us, but if you know, you know. The cost of living is so bad in America that you have to split up your rent payments into 2 payments per month because it's too much to pay all at once. Now, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, you might save a little bit more money doing that because, you know, it's a good financial decision. But, you know, sometimes some bills you just want to get them out the way. Okay, it's due at the first of the month, from the 1st to the 5th or whatever. You want to get that shit out the way and worry about the other bills.
So I don't know where you can, if you have 3 times the rent as a deposit, then, you know, or if you can afford 3 times the rent, I don't know where you could just automatically qualify for a house. Where did they get that from? I don't know. The fact of the matter is that a lot of people, because she's not really talking about the cost of living, she's not talking about gas prices, groceries, all of that type of stuff. She's purely just talking about housing, which is a fair conversation to have. But I've never found housing to be unaffordable because I've always just lived where I can afford. Right from the time that I decided to move out of my mom's house, I wasn't ever feeling like I needed to move out of my mother's house because I was okay with practicing group economics because I didn't have anything better than to do, and my life wasn't going to change just because I was living in a different destination. I was living, working, and playing all in the same city, and so it just wasn't that big of a deal. But everybody was in a rush to move out. And ironically enough, I can even remember that most of the people that moved out, whether you moved out to go live on a college campus and you decided to take out a bunch of student loans because I wasn't raised with money, or if you just decided that you wanted to go and get a job or get roommates, most of the people that I seen move out early, they struggled. They struggled significantly. But I was never in a rush until I could find myself in a position like being married. And even when I was married, it wasn't that big of a deal when I wound up moving back into my mom's basement and we practiced group economics again. I don't know how many times I got to tell y'all that. Group economics, you pool your resources, you live with other people, you get roommates, you stay in your mother's house, you help them out, they help you out, and that's the way that you go about doing things and surviving. But my point is that everybody moves far away from their job. People, you know, want to get these big car notes and house notes and all of this stuff. And being house poor has always been a thing. You got to get a super mega house because you're trying to keep up with the Joneses. So most of what I've seen from people when it comes to cost of living, it was always because it was self-inflicted, not because it was just too expensive for you to live.
So that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I would prefer it. What do y'all think?
This economy is some bullshit. And I know it's some bullshit because I remember when I was in high school, I took a personal finance class. And one of our assignments was we had to find a career we wanted, right? We had to go on Indeed or a job website and find like a wage, a salary, whatever for that job, right?
Now I'm starting to tell my age because when I was coming up, we didn't have Indeed and all of this other type of stuff. So you can tell that he's much younger than I am.
With that salary, we had to find a house that we could afford and a car that we could afford, right? I don't remember what career, whatever that I picked, but I know it was around making like $80,000 a year. I was able to have that career, have a nice car, and a nice house and still be chilling. I don't think people understand how out of hand the cost of living is. For a long time, a brand new car was gonna run you between 20 to 25 stacks. Them luxury BMWs, Mercedes, whatever, that'll run you about 30. You know what I'm saying? Them nice Altimas,
30.
Camrys, and all this and all that. Brand new, them things used to be about 15 or 18 stacks. Nice ass apartments. They gonna run you about $800 or $900. A regular, schmegular apartment, maybe about $600-700. You living in the hood, it was probably about $400 a month. You know, everything made sense. Now, especially with the apartments, it's either I want to get taxed for some bullshit or I want to live in the hood.
Well, the thing about these apartments that a lot of these people are living in is that they're all inclusive, all exclusive. The places have pools and indoor, outdoor pools, indoor gyms, rooftops, catering spaces, sports rooms, all of this stuff. And so most of the apartments today are not the same type of apartments that, we talking about back in the day. An apartment was just an apartment. It was a bunch of rooms inside of a building, and you figured it out from there. So, when we thinking about this, it's not the same. The demands of people are not the same. All of the type of cars that you guys want and all of the wages that it takes in order to pay these auto workers to manufacture these cars are not the same. And so everything gets passed over to the consumer. And the question that you want to do, because every generation is different from the generation previous. And so the thing that you want to do is you want to adjust your lifestyle depending on what you want, right? I know people that moved to New York and they sold their car and they don't have any car whatsoever because they said that they was just going to catch the subway. And so that was a car insurance, cars, maintenance, all of that stuff was eliminated because they no longer had to worry about those same costs that other people worried about that may have moved out to the suburbs, but then they drive into the city for their job. I remember when I first got a job, I was catching a bus every day to work until I ultimately found a car riding down the street, me and my father, and then I had to go in and pay cash for it. And I asked him to borrow the money. He said no. I went and took the shoes back that I went shopping for and had the money up. And then I had to wait till Monday when the Secretary of State opened so that I can go and get some tags and insurance for it. And then I rode that car until the wheels fell off. And then I went and bought another one cash. And so I was even fiscally responsible when I was 18, 19 years old, even though I was making a decent amount of money in the plant. I didn't feel like I had to keep up with the Joneses or I had to go and take this exotic trip or that I was impacted by what people were posting on social media. None of that stuff mattered to me. I was just living my own life.
There's like no in between anymore. The housing market is crazy. Used cars, the price that people be trying to sell these used cars for is, if you want a decent price for a used car, it's gonna have over 100,000 miles on it.